Okay, well, thank you for that. Let's get rolling here. Obviously, this is session number 5 in the Adventures to Self-Mastery. So again, all these sessions that we're doing have to do with learning how to have self-mastery of yourself, of your thoughts, in your self-mastery in your relationship, self-mastery in your career, in your finances, and self-mastery in your health and well-being. So tonight is all really around the health and well-being piece, called Your Body is Speaking, Are You Listening? So a little history about this for me personally is when I was 18 years old, I was in college. I was going to school to be an accountant, believe it or not. And I had a car accident, a pretty bad one, and almost died. Woke up, car pulled out in front of me. I didn't have a seatbelt on. My head went through the windshield, and supposedly I was up walking around, talking, and bleeding everywhere, and I don't remember. I lost several hours of consciousness there, but anyway, I woke up in the hospital several hours later, and obviously I was in lots of pain. My neck was hurting, my shoulder was hurting, I couldn't move. I was really uncomfortable, and I was really feeling depressed actually around it, because I was I was a senior in school. I was actually in high school, and I was taking college courses. I was about to graduate anyway. So I remember laying in the bed, and the doctor came in, and the doctor said, "Hey, okay, Dave, you can go home now. You're fine." Meaning there's nothing broken except my finger. I was going to live, basically, and they were going to send me home. And I say, "Well, wait, hang on, doc, I can't move my neck. I can't move my shoulder. I'm in lots of pain. What do I need to do about this? How do I've got an active life. I was a very active person. And I was worried I wasn't going to be able to, I couldn't move my arm or move my neck." And he was like, "Oh, okay, well, here, you need to take these." And he started writing out these prescriptions, and he gave me 3 drugs: a pain pill, a muscle relaxer, and an anti-inflammatory. And at 18, I didn't know a whole lot about health and wellness or mind, body, or anything. But something in me said, that didn't make a lot of sense to me. How can I take a pill and it's going to fix my shoulder and it's going to fix my neck? That doesn't really, I don't understand how that works. That doesn't make sense. So obviously I didn't take them. And I ended up going to see a chiropractor the next week. And after about 6 weeks of treatment, I had no more neck pain. I had no more shoulder. My shoulder was fine. And I was like, wow, what is this called? What did you do to me? What is this? He goes, "Oh, well, this is chiropractic, and this is how you heal the body with your hands, and you align the spine, and you reset the nervous system, and this is how you actually correct conditions, and you get into the root of the problem." And I was like, wow, and I remember that day I was like, it's the day that you figure out this is what I want to do for my life. It's a really incredible turning point. And I immediately dropped all my accounting classes because I was doing terrible anyway. I didn't like it. And I changed my course in life changed that day. And I went into chiropractic school, and I was super inspired about this because I knew this is what I want to do. This is more me. So anyway, I went to chiropractic school, and I graduated when I was 24 years old, and I opened my first practice 2 weeks after I got out of school. And I didn't really know what I was doing, as far as I didn't have any business sense. I didn't really know a lot about how to run a practice. All of a sudden I'm a doctor and I'm 24. I just knew I wanted to help people like it helped me. And I just wanted to go and try to help as many people as I can get out of pain and feel better. And so that's what I started doing, was just working with people, working with the body, doing chiropractic, physically working on them. And after a few years, after about 5 years, I started working with people's nutrition, realizing that, wow, maybe what we eat has something to do with how we feel. Because I was feeling good physically, but I was eating really terrible, and I was feeling tired a lot, and I was gaining some weight. And so I started eating better, and I started feeling better. So I started using that in my practice. And then a few more years later, it was about 5 more years, I went to a course to Dr. Demartini's class and started learning about the mind-body connection and how what you think about affects how you feel. I was like, wow, okay. And I was going through some stress in my life, and I was feeling it, stressed, and I realized, wow, this is really an important piece of the puzzle, is how you think affects how you feel. And it was enlightening to me because I didn't know that until then. And so I started researching and put all my time and energy on studying the mind-body connection. So for about 22 years now, I've been studying about the mind-body connection. 29 years I've been working with chiropractic. So now I just full-time work with the mind-body. I don't practice actively any longer. I've delegated that out to other doctors and team and a nutritionist who handle that part. And I just do the mind-body work. And so that's led me on a journey to help people reach their health and wellness goals by learning how to balance out their physiology. And so today, wherever you are, whatever time it is, wherever time you're watching the recording, this class is around how do you reach a higher state of wellness and well-being by learning how to listen to your body when it's giving you feedback that you're out of balance. And so let's dive into this thing. And we got to start here with the rich wellness model. Again, this is such a great model that I think everyone needs to really have somewhere so you can look at it, because it gives you kind of an overview of your whole life, because this has all the areas of life in it. And I look at this often when I'm feeling like something's off. It gives me an overview of my life so I can kind of see a perspective of what's happening in my life. So again, the R is your relationships of life, which is your social, your family, and also your partner, whether that's a partner you have currently or whether you're your own partner, but that's the partner that you currently have. So that's the relationship area of life. And would you agree that those areas of life, your partner, your family, and social, those are areas where you have stress in sometimes? You can have imbalance in those areas sometimes. You have conflict and chaos in those areas sometimes, okay? Next, you've got the C, which is your career, which has three things, which is your service that you provide, which is doing what you love doing, is service that you're here to do. The M is the mastery of that service. And the W is the wealth that you would like to create from offering your service. And that could be wealth financially, it could be wealth in relationship, it could be wealth in your career, it could be wealth in your health. There's all different kinds of forms of wealth. So it's just whatever form is your values in, that's what is a result of you providing your service. And then the H is where we're going to spend tonight, is the health part, mind, body, health. And this is the chemical, this is the physical, and this is the emotional, the CPE. And would you agree that those areas of life, the career with your service, your finances, and your mastery, your education, those are areas where you could have stress in, and you could have chaos and confusion, and you could have conflict in those areas as well. And just like the health, your chemical, your physical, and your emotional well-being can have stress in those areas. So those are the three types of stresses that we're going to talk about tonight, is the chemical, the physical, and the emotional. And then the last part of the model, which is the center model, which is the I. Well, again, like we've talked in every class we discussed this is your identity. And your identity has the three components, which is your values and drives, which is your mission, your M, and this is your A, which is your authentic expression. And obviously these are areas where you can have stress in, and you're getting your values met, and living your mission, and also being an authentic being. Those are areas where we can have high stresses in. And so when we look at the rich wellness model, what you realize is, what I realized many years ago, is having health it's not just, wellness is not just about health. Wellness is about your entire life. Wellness is about all the components, all the areas of your life flowing together in a rhythm around your highest values or your mission, and around your identity and your authentic expression. So wellness is an expression of all the areas of your life, not just about health, because you could have, for many years, I've seen people and work with people who have really great health, but they have really poor health in their relationships, or they have poor health in their career or finances. And so, when I talk about wellness, we're talking about your whole entire life, your relationship, career, health, and your identity. So we're going to dive in a little bit about what that really means in regards to your physiology, because your body your mind is designed to give you feedback when you're out of balance in any area of life. Would you agree that when you have stress in your relationship areas, you get feedback? You might have arguments, you might have depression, you might have conflict in those areas. When you're out of balance in your career, you're going to get feedback from that, maybe financial feedback, or you might have feedback from a job or something like that, or in your health. The feedback you get from your health, which we're going to talk about tonight, is your physiology, giving you signs and symptoms. And for so many years, I work with so many people who come into my practice and they have symptoms of imbalance, and which could be back pain or headaches or digestive problems or fatigue. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And so oftentimes people they're so anxious to get rid of their symptoms by maybe taking a pill or taking a drug or just doing whatever they need to do to get rid of their symptom. And I always like to teach people, let's learn what your body's feedback is trying to tell you. Because if you don't learn why you got out of balance, then what do you think is going to happen? You're going to have it come back again, and you're going to get an even bigger sign and symptom, because that's what your body is meant to do. And it's actually, signs and symptoms are part of wellness. And so many people don't quite understand that when they get sick, they think they're ill, but actually your body, by giving you feedback and giving you illness, is actually a part of wellness, because that's a part of the feedback that tries to get you back to homeostasis and feeling wonderful and feeling your best and feeling balanced and having no pain and having more energy. And so it's wise to try to learn why your body is giving you feedback, so you can learn to make the corrections so that you cannot repeat the same lessons over and over and over again. And it's unrealistic to think you're never going to have stress in your life, because we're going to have stress chemically, physically, emotionally. We're going to have stress in relationships and career. We're going to have stresses in our own values and our own mission. But the key is learning how to decipher the feedback and how to make corrections to get yourself in balance. And it's not just about ignoring your symptoms. It's not just about taking a pill. One analogy I've always used over the years is, hey, if you're driving your car and the oil light comes on, the engine light comes on, it says your car's not running right, you need to do something, and you ignore it and just unplug the wire, and the light goes off, and now you think everything's okay. And so that's kind of what happens if you are having feedback physiologically and you just take a pill to cover up the symptom, or you don't actually correct it, but you just try to treat the symptoms and not the problem. Is you're ignoring the underlying condition. And in my experience over the years, when I do that, and when I see my clients or patients ignore their body's signs and symptoms, things just get a little worse and worse and worse and worse. So your body's designed to keep giving you more and more feedback until you make shifts. That's the beauty of it. So great. So again, I think this is an important model to just have. It's a great way to look at your entire life, all the areas in one view, and you can really see how every area of your life really affects all the other areas of life. And working in the health and wellness industry, to me, the health piece is crucial, because you're going to get the most feedback, and the first feedback you're going to get is going to come from mind and body. And so when you can learn how to look at the mind and body feedback and make your own corrections, now you can empower yourself to achieve greater levels of wellness than you can ever imagine. So let's get rolling here, and let's talk through. We already covered that. Let's talk through your body speed. We want to cover three things: the three types of stress. We're going to talk around your thoughts and your physiology. We're going to talk about how to find that mind-body balance all on your own. Okay. So 3 types of stress. First, we've got chemical stress. Now, what is chemical stress? Chemical stress is what you're putting in your body or what you're not putting in your body that creates an imbalance, that creates stress. Okay. So, for example, if you're putting in an overabundance of, say, medications, or you put an overabundance of sugar, overabundance of any substance that your body can't handle, it's going to give you feedback. It's going to give you stress. Or if you're not putting in enough stuff, like a real common one is not drinking enough water, not taking enough vitamins or minerals, or not taking enough sun or whatever. Anything you're not getting enough of can also create an imbalance of stress. So it's either too much of something or it's not enough of something that creates an imbalance. And it's important to learn how to identify on your own, what are you doing chemically or not doing chemically that may be creating your signs and symptoms. Next, you got the physical stresses. Physical stresses are, what are you actually doing to your body, or what are you not doing to your body that may be causing stress? For instance, if you're having poor posture, if you have an auto accident, if you have a fall, if you sleep wrong, if you sit wrong, those kind of things, or if you lift wrong, those kind of things can cause physical stress in your body. If you're not doing enough of things, if you're not getting enough exercise, not walking, not stretching, not using your body enough, then it can create symptoms as well. So it's too much of physical stress, or it's not enough of something that can create imbalances in your physiology. The third type of stress is the emotional stresses. This is how you perceive your life, how you perceive your life unfolding. What are you stressed about? What pushes your buttons? And it's the way you think that affects how you feel. So if you look at your life and you think that you have done things, if you have shame or guilt or regret from the past, you're going to have physiological symptoms. If you have fear of the future, anxiety about future, that's going to create an imbalance emotionally in your body. And you're going to have symptoms from that as well. So you got the chemical, we got the physical, and we got the emotional areas of life. Those are the stresses that you can have either too much or not enough of that can create an imbalance. And when there's the imbalance, our body is beautifully designed to give us signs and symptoms as feedback to help you get back on track, just like the other areas of life. So it's important to learn how to take time to look at the feedback, to stop and take a look and ask yourself quality questions. I know that, if I have a person come into my office or a client that comes in that's having health issues, this is the first thing we look at. We look at chemical, physical, emotional. Let's look at each area. What are you doing or not doing chemically that could be causing stress? What are you doing or not doing physically? What are you thinking or not thinking that can create stress in your life? And I know from my own personal well-being, if I start to feel discomfort somewhere, if I start to have digestive issues, if I start to feel fatigue, if I start to not sleep well, if I start to have stress or anxiety, I stop and I ask myself those questions. We talk a lot about quality questions, and this is one of them, is being able to ask yourself, what am I doing or not doing chemically, physically, and emotionally that's creating this physiological shift, that's creating this feedback that I can actually learn from. And that's one of the first things that I try to teach people, to ask yourself those questions so you can figure it out. And most every single time it's going to be one or more of these things. A lot of times you're going to have all three stresses, because what I've noticed and what I've seen is when you have the emotional stress component, it's kind of like the trump card, because when you have high emotional stresses, that impacts what you put in or don't put in your body. It impacts what you do or don't do to your body. Because when you're really stressed out, do you notice that sometimes you eat differently when you're having anxiety or when you're having depression? What they show is we'll start to eat different foods to try to get our emotions change, because food affects our emotions. So I noticed that when people are really stressed out or having anxiety, they'll start to eat more sugar or more comfort type foods that makes us feel better. We probably know those type of foods. So when you eat them, you feel really, it gives you a high, but then maybe later you have a crash. And so it's wise to really learn how to decipher exactly where your stresses are coming from, so you don't overcompensate with another area. So many times as well, if you're super stressed out, maybe you don't feel like exercising, or maybe you overexert yourself. I see that a lot sometimes where people are stressed out, they'll overexert themselves with exercise, and that creates stress on their body, because you can actually over exercise yourself and stress yourself out. And so again, the most important thing to pick up from these three stresses is learning how to moderate all three of these things, because your body is designed to handle a certain amount of stress. You have an immune system that when it's functioning at its peak can handle a certain amount of stress, chemically, physically, emotionally. It's just that if you have a chemical stress, let's say you've been eating really poorly for a while, and then let's say you're not exercising, and then you're stressed out emotionally, that's a recipe for a crash. But so you don't have to be super strict in each area. You don't have to have no stress chemically, physically, emotionally. You just have to moderate your stresses so that your immune system can handle the amount of stresses coming at it. Because we can handle a certain amount of stress. It's just when we go over that threshold, that's when you have crashes. That's when you have sickness. That's when you get injured. That's when you get depression and anxiety. And that's when you have the physiological signs and symptoms of overload, stress overload. So when you're starting to feel those, ask yourself those questions: chemical, physical, emotional. Where am I out of balance? Where can I shift things immediately to start getting myself back into balance? And 99 times out of 100 in my own personal life, when I'm starting to feel that, I can identify exactly where I'm over or under in those areas, make the corrections, and then get back to feeling good again really fast. What I see people doing is when they don't know how to do that and they don't make their self-corrections, then their body and mind crash, and then they're sick and their immune system goes bad, and then they takes them a long time. Maybe you've had that in your life before. Maybe you know people who are just always sick, or when they get sick, they just don't recover very well. This is a feedback that there's some stress chemically, physically, emotionally that's not in check, that is way out of balance. And so it's such an easy thing to learn how to decipher your own symptoms chemically, physically, emotionally, and make corrections. So making sense so far? Great. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat box. We'll periodically check in, and we'll answer those questions as we go. Any questions at the moment? Gia?
I don't see any questions at the moment.
Perfect. Let's keep rolling then. When there's no questions, it means that I must be explaining it so well that it makes so much sense. No one has questions. Beautiful.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. So let's move on. Now, next we're going to talk about your thoughts and your physiology. Now I'm going to show you a couple graphs here, which has really helped me over the years to explain things when I have clients about how your thoughts affect your physiology. I know when I first got out of school almost 30 years ago and started practicing, there wasn't a whole lot out there about the mind-body connection. It was still kind of a new arena. They were still researching that there is a connection between the mind and body. And obviously, I think we can all agree that now, 30 years later, there is no question now that there's a connection between your mind and body. Whereas 30 years ago, there was questions about that. And so now it's clear that what you think about affects how you feel. And when I learned that many years ago, and when you really get clear on that, it makes you really want to be cautious about what you're thinking, knowing that what you think affects how you feel. And so there's a really great pyramid that kind of shows the connection that someone showed me, I don't know, 20, 30, 25 years ago, that I thought was really powerful. And so this pyramid kind of shows you the connection between thoughts and disease. And at the top of the pyramid, obviously, we've got your thoughts. And thoughts can have two different types. You can have inspiration thinking, or you can have desperation thinking. And stressful thoughts causes stress on the body, because when your thoughts are out of balance, it affects your neurotransmitters in the brain, which are your messengers that deliver messages and help the body function smoothly by delivering messages like dopamine, serotonin, those neurotransmitters in the brain that really are that really carry messages to and affect the hormones. So when your neurotransmitters are out of balance, and a lot of times what you'll see medically is, you've heard of people having chemical imbalances. Well, a lot of times they're talking about someone has a chemical imbalance. They may call it bipolar syndrome. They might, they call it all kinds of different things. The imbalance is in your neurotransmitters, which are directly affected by how you think. And when your neurotransmitters become out of balance, they kick in and affect your hormones. So your hormones can get off and dysregulated. You can have dysregulated hormones. And when your hormones get out of balance, what you'll see is you will start having digestive disturbances, constipation, heartburn, weight gain, not digesting your food very well, and those kind of things. And that affects your physiology tremendously, obviously. And when you have a chronic digestive imbalance, that creates inflammatory responses in the body, in the tissues, in the organ, on a cellular level. So you start having early inflammatory issues like arthritis and different diseases that have inflammatory responses to them. And so when there's chronic inflammation of a part of the body, of an organ or tissue, that leads into diseases long-term, which is the bottom of the pyramid. So that's where you see cancers and diabetes and heart disease and, like I said, arthritis and, the list goes on and on about the diseases that occur. And so, and you can follow that connection all the way up to your thoughts. And medically and wellness wise, you can treat diseases through any of these layers of conditions, any of these layers of inflammation, digestion, hormone, neurotransmitters, and thoughts. But to me, what I have discovered over the years is, if you're not correcting the thoughts that are causing the imbalance, then you're probably not ever really going to get to the state of well-being and clear the disease processes out completely. We can certainly manage things properly with treating inflammation, with treating digestive issues, treating hormones and neurotransmitter imbalances. But if there is a imbalance in your thinking, then you're going to have a challenging time finding the well-being that you're really looking for and reaching the health and wellness goals that I think that we all have. So mastering your thoughts is one of the most important things we could do to improve our health and well-being. So let's talk about the two types of thoughts. We covered this in another class, but I think it's really worth repeating because it's such an important thing we can do as a self correction, is the inspiration versus desperation thinking. Now, if we look at these 7 different types of thoughts, different types of language, because you can catch yourself, our internal and our external dialogue is a really great indicator of our thoughts. If you look at the bottom if you look at number 7, the lowest form of thinking and the desperation thinking is your got tos and have tos. Moving up to shoulds and ought tos and need tos. So these three layers are more of a desperation type thinking. If you are finding that you're saying these things a lot in your life, then you're probably not living as well. You're not having the wellness that you could be having. In my practice for 29 years now, the people that came into my clinic, and even the clients I see today, I work with them, that have the worst health conditions, that take the longest to heal, that have the most difficulty finding and reaching their health goals, are the ones that use this language in their life. They've got to go to work. They have to do the chores. They really should be working out more. They really ought to be thinking differently, or they really need to be living a different lifestyle. When you find yourself or you hear others using this language, that is an indicator that they're not living according to their highest values and living as inspired as they could. And so I encourage you to try to catch yourself to see if you're using this language often or not. And if you are, it's a good indicator that there's probably some areas of life, there's probably some, either your relationships, your career, your finance, your health, that you're probably not as inspired about. And possibly you're not super clear on what your values are. And certainly if you're not clear about your values, you may not be super clear about your mission and who you are authentically. Now, when we go to number 4, we're in the want to stage. That starts change. That's a little bit of different energy than the need tos. Now you're actually wanting to do something different. So that's kind of the middle ground there. And so as we move up the ladder and we get into the top 3 layers, which are going to be more of the inspiration type language that you can say, desire to, choose to, love to. Whenever you're spontaneously saying these language in your dialogues, internally or externally, then those are indicators that you're in an inspired state, because you're automatically using this language of, I love to do what I'm doing. I choose to live this life I'm living. I desire to have abundance in my life. When you're using those top layers of language spontaneously and automatically, then that's an indicator that you're probably on track. You're probably living according to your values. You're probably living authentically and being true to who you are. And you're probably having a life that you're inspired about living. And again, the people that I work with over the years that have the worst health conditions are living in the lower 3 levels, and the ones that heal the fastest, the ones that have the least amount of health problems that needed the least amount of work, are in the top 3 of these inspiration, desperation languages. So one of the things I would encourage everyone to do is check in with yourself periodically. What is your internal and external dialogue in the world? And where do you fit in this chart? Are you living more in the upper 3? Are you living more in the lower 3? And chances are, if you're in the lower 3, then you're probably having some health challenges. You're probably having some relationship challenges, maybe some financial challenges, or even some career challenges, and you're not quite probably on a path of inspiration that I think you could be if you shift things around. So use that as feedback. Okay, again, like we talked about, your body is constantly giving you feedback physiologically and through your thoughts about how you are feeling and if you're living or not living an inspired life. So I love this chart. I've used it a lot with my clients over the years to just try to help them to self-reflect even more. If you're not taking time to self-reflect and ask yourself the questions, how do I feel physiologically? How do I feel emotionally? How do I feel chemically and mentally? When you look in the mirror at yourself, do you like what you see? Do you love yourself? Do you love what you look like? Do you love how you're showing up every day? And if the answer is no, then that's just the feedback that's letting you know that it's time for something to shift. It's nothing to panic about. Which I see people do sometimes is they, you get in a panic mode because, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. But actually, again, like we said earlier, the feedback is a part of wellness. And if you choose to pay attention to the feedback and correct, then you are able to reach a different level of health and well-being. If you choose to ignore the feedback, which I think people do, actually, if you think about it, we're actually brought up to ignore our feedback sometimes, because I remember when I was growing as a kid, when you look at TV commercials, even today, what does it tell you to do? If you're feeling pain, take this pill. If you're feeling depressed, take this pill. If you're feeling anxious, take this pill. And then you'll feel better. And so it's something that's been that was ingrained in our lives as kids and even our parents. And so what I've noticed over the last few years is that there's been a shift in thinking. I see that there's more people. I see that there's a shift in how people are thinking, and people are getting more empowered and not just taking pills and not just ignoring symptoms when they have issues, but actually taking charge of their life. I've seen it in my practice, and I think that wellness is the new goal that we want to reach. It's not just about, again, it's not just about health, feeling healthy. It's about having wellness in your entire life. And that's, I think, so possible for us to achieve. If we just learn how to pay attention to our signs, pay attention to our symptoms, and make the changes that our body is desperately asking us to do, and then changing our thinking. So, great. A good time to see if there's any questions as we just cover this new point. If anyone has any questions, let's go ahead and cover those. If not, we'll just keep rolling on.
We still don't have any questions.
All right, I'm doing good then. Fantastic. So let's move on to the last section then. All right, the last section, finding your own mind and body balance. And again, we got to go back to the rich wellness model when we're talking about finding the mind body balance. Because here's the reality of it. You are never missing health in your life. You may not have health physically or emotionally at the moment, but you're going to have health in other areas of your life, in your highest values. If health is not already high on your value list, and again, if you haven't done your values and got clear on your values recently, I suggest doing that at least once or twice a year at the least, to get clear about what are your highest values. Because if you're expecting yourself to have health, but you don't have a high value on health, then it doesn't make a lot of sense that you're going to actually achieve health. So I know in my case, health, because when I was a child, I had several surgeries as a kid from age 6 to 12, and it created a void in my life of health. And so it has driven my value for health and well-being throughout my life. Now I'm 53 or so now. And I certainly get feedback that I look and act much younger than that. I like to think that that's still accurate today. Actually, my philosophy is I want to look, if I'm 53, I want to look 43. I want to feel 33, and I want to act 23. And so that's kind of how I'm like living my world, is I want to always get younger as I get older. And so the point is, if you don't already have health as your higher values, then it doesn't make a lot of sense that you're going to achieve health. And that's what happens to people usually this time of year, especially January and February, March, where people come into a new year, you make resolutions to reach a certain health goal, right? And what happens after 4 to 6 weeks? You typically drop off because people are setting unrealistic expectations on reaching health goals when you actually don't have a high value on health goals. And it works the same with finances as well. If you don't have a high value on finances, why would you? It's not going to make sense that you're going to automatically build wealth. And so the key is to, if you're not feeling healthy and well, one of the very first things to do is find the form of the health that you have. And that's going to be in your highest values. If you have a high value in the relationship areas of life, then that's going to be where you're the most healthiest, probably, is in your relationships with your family, your friends, and your partner. If you have a higher value on the career area and service, and then you're going to probably have, that's where you're going to have your healthiest life is going to be when you're serving and living in that area. If you have a high value on finances, then you're probably going to have your greatest health is going to be in your financial area of life. And so, again, nothing. We talked about this in the last class, as a matter of fact, whenever we talked about how the illusion of loss and gain, and it's an illusion to feel that you've lost your health, because the reality is we all have health, and it's always in our highest values. And so when you take the time to honor your values and where you have the most health, and appreciate and have gratitude for the current form of health that you're in, that gratitude for the current form of health already starts to shift your physiology. Because if you're sitting in your present life thinking that you should be healthier, or you don't feel as good as you should, or you ought to start changing your lifestyle, and you're thinking that your life would be better, then you're ignoring what is as it is and not appreciating the forms of health that you already have. And in my experience, when you appreciate the current forms of health, then that opens the door to now shift your actual physical and mental health. And if you're not appreciating your life for how it is, then it's going to impact your health and well-being. So take the time, if you're not feeling that you have the current health that you want to have, take the time and ask yourself the quality question. Where is my current form of health right now? What area of life do I feel the most health in? It may not be physically, but it's probably going to be somewhere else in life. And acknowledge that. And that's step one in learning how to find the balance in your life of mind and body. Because again, gratitude is the greatest healer of all. And if you're not having gratitude for your current form of health, and you're just trying to run to a better health that you think is going to give you a better life, then you're actually missing the point of finding gratitude for what is as it is. One exercise that has been super helpful for me and for my clients over the years that don't automatically have a high value on health is if you want to reach a health goal that's not already automatically being done, you've got to link your health goal to your highest values. Let me give you an example. If you have a high value on your career, let's say, and building your business, and let's say you have another, the next value under it is you have a high value on building wealth, and those are your top two values, and your health value is down low, maybe 5 or 6 or down low. The only way that you will be able to shift your health long term is to increase the value of health in your life. Because as long as it stays down low in your value system, anytime these more important values come into your life, you're always going to choose those over your health. And that's what happens during this time of year when people drop out of their health. They have these goals that's not aligned to their values. And so as soon as their higher values kick in, the health goes right back down again. And so to bring your health up when it's not already intrinsically there, you've got to ask your questions. How is me achieving my health goals going to benefit my highest values? Top 1, top 2, top 3 values. And when you can make enough associations and link enough benefits to achieving your health goals, to reaching your higher values, then you're going to move that health up higher on. It's probably not going to take on number 1. The only time I see that happening is if there's some really catastrophic event or you have a major health crisis, then that'll bump it up really fast. Just like, if someone doesn't have a high value on finances and they go bankrupt, all of a sudden, sometimes you'll see that financial value go way up high. So asking yourself the quality questions: how is me achieving my health goal going to benefit my highest values? And try to see if you can find 100 minimum benefits to reaching your health goals to your highest values. And if you do this exercise and you can truly see enough benefits to it, now you're starting to change your thinking around your health. And now you'll move the health up on your value list. And now all of a sudden you start eating better. Now all of a sudden you stick with your program. Now all of a sudden, maybe you start yoga. Maybe all of a sudden you start to meet people. You start to see the doors opening to help you achieve your higher values. Because like we talked about in a couple classes ago, whatever you put your thoughts and energy on, whatever you put your intention on, whatever you put your attention on, will manifest into your life. And we always put our attention and intention on our higher values. And that's why what you'll see in your life is you're manifesting your higher values. You're manifesting what you're thinking about. You're manifesting what you talk about. You're manifesting what you put your energy and time and put your money on comes into your life. When you bring your health up on your value list, now all of a sudden you'll start putting time, you'll start putting energy, you'll start putting money, and you'll start talking about health and well-being more. You'll start to meet people come into your life that encourage you to be healthier. You start to all of a sudden take a class maybe you never thought about. You'll start reading different books. You'll start watching different videos. You'll start choosing to eat different foods, because now you realize that if you want to achieve your highest values, having health and well-being can be a really great asset to you doing that. So do the linking exercise. If you want to increase your health and stay on your program and achieve a whole different level of health and well-being and reach health goals, link your higher values to achieving those goals and do it at least 100 benefits. It takes it to really get that to shift. And that's why the more clear you can be on your values, the better you can link your health to your values. If you're kind of vague on your values, you're not super clear on your values, you're not super clear on your mission, then it's harder to link that to it. When you're clear on your values and you're clear on your mission, and when you think about it, you'll feel it in your body because you know you're aligned to that. That's your authentic expression. And so to also bring in the health higher on your values, do the linking work. If you already have health on your higher values, then you're probably already a healthy person. You already take time to work out. You already watch what you eat. You're already doing things to help yourself feel and look better because it's a high value for you. And that's beautiful. The majority of the people out there are not. The majority of the people don't have a high value on the health and well-being, especially the people that I saw in my practice over the years that came into my clinic that had pretty bad health issues or diseases, or they didn't feel great, or they were stressed out. Many times it's because they just weren't having health higher in their values. And the truth is, that's life. And that's how it is. You're always going to pay attention and you're going to take time for your highest values. So if you want to have long-term health and well-being, bring health higher on your values by linking it to what's important to you. And if you do that exercise, it'll transform your health and well-being. And the key is you'll stick with your program. And if you find yourself over time slipping and starting to lose that, then you just reconnect back to your highest values and link your health to your values again, and remind yourself why you're doing it. And I can't tell you how important it is to do that if you want to achieve a greater level of health. So if you know people are struggling, this is a beautiful thing to educate them on. And if they need help, this is what I'm here to help people with. So again, nothing's missing. It's just in different forms. Take time to look and recognize the new forms so you can realize that where you are right now is perfect. You're in a perfect starting point, whether you want to improve your health, whether you want to increase better relationships, have better finances, or a better career. You are in a no better spot than you are right now to start to springboard and to change and create and manifest anything you want to in your life. You just have to get clear on your values, get clear on your mission, and start living authentically and having gratitude for what is as it is. And when you do, and you shift your perceptions, and you can start having more gratitude for life, now you start to see your physiology shift. You start to have the ideal weight. You start to get rid of your pain. You start to have more energy. You start to sleep better at night. You start to look younger. You start to look less stressed. Your skin changes. Your physiology will literally start to shift and get younger when you start having more gratitude for what is as it is. And so I encourage you to really check in with yourself and check in with your mind, check in with your body to see where you might feel imbalanced, and then start doing this work to really make the changes in your life. I think the health, is the greatest form of wealth, because I've seen in my life, and I've seen in many other people's lives, is you may have a beautiful relationship life, a beautiful career and lots of money. But if you lose your health, everything else kind of suffers. And I've seen that over the years where someone can really be just having a lovely life and they're feeling great and they're inspired, but then something happens, they have an accident, they have something goes on and their health suffers. Now your relationship suffers, your career suffers, your finances suffer. And so that's why if we look at the rich wellness model, health is kind of here at the bottom. It's and the emotional, the E is at the very base because it's the trump card. If you're not taking care of your emotions, then you're probably not going to be taking care of your relationships and your career and finances as well. Because you can't begin to manage your life if you're not managing your emotions. So to learn how to manage your emotions, it's about learning to look at your life by knowing your values, getting clear on your mission, show up authentically, and have gratitude for what it is as it is. And what I've noticed is when you have gratitude for life, you have more love for what you're doing. When you have more love for what you're doing, you have more certainty about who you are and where you're going. And when you have more certainty about who you are and where you're going, you have a presence about you. You're not only present in your life, but you also have a presence, which is a different, because when you have a presence, now you're magnetic. Now your people are drawn to you and you show up differently in the world. So it starts with the gratitude for what is as it is. Loving who you are and loving what you're doing. Have certainty about why you're here, have certainty in yourself, and then show up and be present, and then you'll feel the presence not only externally but internally, and people will be drawn to that. And so now when you put those components together and you have a balance in your relationship, career, health, now you've got a different state of well-being, and that's wellness. Is when you can, I always said that the greatest form of well-being is knowing who you are, knowing why you're here, and just showing up and having gratitude for life. Start there, and that is the core of having wellness in your life. So if you want to achieve health and well-being, this is where you start, is loving your life, loving who you are, loving where you are, gratitude for what is as it is. Great. Questions? We've just about reached our hour, so
Well, I don't see any questions in the chat.
fantastic.
I can ask again if anyone has a question.
I don't want to write it on the chat. It's okay if I just say it by voice.
Yes, please.
You talk about feeling the body, and you talk about seeing health in life in other aspects. So I just remember that I was making the exercises in that moment, and it's more right now like something that I want to put in the table. Like I just feel like in the same proportion that I have health in my relationships, at the same time I don't have it, and it happens with all the aspects of my life. And with my, like, I'm just seeing, I think you saw that in the past session about gain loss.
Yes.
I see I'm healthy and I'm unhealthy in all my aspects.
And that's the balance, is we're going to have health, and we're going to have healthy, and we're going to have unhealthy, and we're never going to have that imbalance. I mean, I'm not going to lose that imbalance, because there's going to be areas of life where you have health and areas of life where you're unhealthy. You're going to be the healthiest in your highest values. You're going to be the unhealthiest in your lowest values. And so that's why it's so important to get to know you by knowing your values and mission, so you don't have expectations that you're meant to be healthy in some area and not healthy in others when it's not aligned to who you are. So your highest values are going to be your greatest form of health and your greatest form of wealth. Lower values are going to be your least form of health and wealth. And so when you can understand that, then you can allow yourself just to show up and be yourself, and love yourself for who you are, not have expectations that you're meant to be someone else.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miriam.
Thank you, Dave.
Good question. That was a great question. Anybody else have any other questions?
Hi, Dave. I have a question for you.
Hi, Nadine.
I tuned in late because I was having trouble with my service. Are you gonna be able to upload this to the other series that you have?
Yep, this will be a replay. They're all on the YouTube, so you can see this. Yeah.
Amazing.
So we covered some juicy things in the beginning. So certainly, I would suggest checking that out.
Yeah, will do.
Again, this topic we could talk about. This could be a week-long workshop, breaking down each area and going into really detail. So in these hour sessions where, we really want to give you some really good nuggets, some good highlights, so you can kind of think through kind of where you are, like the other sessions, is to really just start to get you and get you these principles so you can start applying them into your life. And again, anytime you have help, anytime you have questions or want to have a chat, we can set up a synergy call. Doesn't cost anything. We sit and talk. What's going on? What do you need? And I can help kind of get you through whatever you're going through and kind of get a plan of action. So, this is an important topic. Obviously, I've been in this area for 30 years. So I think that this is one of the most important areas we could go, which is the mind-body connection. It's such an important piece of life. And again, either you have a high value on it now or you don't. And if you don't, I encourage you to do the linking work, because whatever you're here to do, whatever your mission is, whatever that service you want to provide, whatever relationships you want to create, I just have seen over the years that when you can have a nice balance of health along with that, it just makes life more fulfilling. And so I just encourage you to really take time on this area of life. And if it's not higher on your values, do the linking work to get it up higher so you can start feeling like you want to feel. Because I know in my life, when I'm feeling good physically, man, every area of my life flourishes. And when I'm not feeling so good physically or emotionally, the other parts of my life suffer. And so it's not about, to me, it's about, what I try to teach is about having a balance. Wellness is not just about one area. It's about having a nice flow, all the areas of life centered around your identity, your values, your mission, and you being authentic, and then creating the life around that. And that's why it's important to really get clear about your values, so you can really create consciously an inspired, fulfilling life that you're in control of, that you're actively manifesting what you want to bring into your life. And it's so possible to do if you just give yourself the opportunity to do the work and give yourself a chance to create a vision for your life. Because the more clear you're on your vision, the more that vision is aligned with your values and mission, then you're going to see that show up in your life. And that's the feedback that you get. And again, pay attention to your language. Start, this week, just really be conscious and take time and just think about and listen to yourself talk internally and externally, and see what your language is like. Is it the upper three, love to, choose to, desire, or is it down low where you're having needs, got tos, ought tos, and shoulds? And just really start evaluating your language, and you can learn a whole lot about yourself. Again, if you're down low in the lower vibration language, you're probably not clear on values. You're probably living according to other people's values, and you're not really authentically expressing yourself. If you're living in the upper language, love tos, then you're probably pretty aligned. You're probably more self-actualized and living a more fulfilled life, and you'll automatically use that language. And so pay attention to your body's feedback when it's giving you symptoms, so you can learn how to master. Again, this is a part of self-mastery, to learn how to have self-mastery over your mind and your body. And I think that's one of the greatest masteries we can have, is to master our own mind and body. Because to me, it's just a foundational part of life. If you're inspired about your life and you're doing what you love doing, you have inspired relationships, then you want to be here longer. So take better care of yourself so you can actually serve and live an inspired life, because you feel so awesome physically and emotionally. So any other questions, ladies? No. Again, we had a little time mix up tonight. So I'm glad we'll do the replay. So there's a few people who were thinking that the class was at 1 a.m. for some reason. And so thank you for being in this state, in this beautiful audience, and participating and bringing your energy to this class tonight. It's always lovely to see Gia and helping me, and Miriam and Nadine. You guys are so awesome. You know, I love
Thank
to.
you for sharing, Dave. I really appreciate that you are sharing this information with us. For me, it's really valuable. Thank you.
Thanks, Miriam. And
Thanks, Dave.
thanks. I did talk to Hugo. He got the time was he's the one who actually helped me. He sent me a message going, "Hey, is this thing at 1:30 in the morning?" I'm like, oh my God, what happened? So I went to look, and sure enough, the timing was off. And so I appreciate him bringing that to my attention this morning, because it was such an annoying thing to have happen. So
Yeah, it happens, technical difficulties, you know, but the good thing is you've got it recorded, and like you've got your team, and you know, I'm sorry I couldn't log in sooner, like, so I will definitely be watching. So just I guess do you guys know when it'll be uploaded?
it takes about 3 days. So
Okay, cool.
I'll let you know.
Sounds good, Dave. Thank you so much.
Thanks, ladies. Have a great night. Love you guys. See you soon.
There. Bye.